Welcome to the Backpacking Pushers podcast, brought to you by our good friends over at Enlightened Equipment. They can help you have the ultra lightest of ultralight packs with their top-notch premium quilts. Check them out at enlightenedequipment.com. With me today is the legendary Ben McAuliffe. How's it going, brother?
It's going good. Legendary. Keep moving up. You know, this is
Legendary.
good.
That's right.
I don't know how legendary could be bad or good, but
That's more like infamous.
I'll take
right?
it as good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Never know with you, Carl. Never know with you.
Fair enough. So we've got Kru Williams, the star of a show called Deadman's Curse, Legend of the Lost Gold. We got him on our show, man. I'm super pumped about this.
Oh, I'm pumped. I was looking forward to it all week. My kid wanted to sit in on it and meet him.
Oh, really?
We've been watching the episodes for show prep.
Okay.
And so it's been good. I'm excited for this. Like, he seems like a genuinely cool guy, and
yeah,
I'm excited to touch base with him and maybe make some fun of you. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see. Ben's got an ulterior agenda while we have a conversation with Kru Williams. Okay.
Always have to have that.
That's right. All right. So this is a show that I actually got into this past summer. There's 2 seasons out. I watched both of the seasons. I kind of burned through the episodes because I was all in, because it's like a backpacking themed show, which kind of combines lots of different elements. But Ben, what's the show like? Can you give us like the show in a nutshell? What's it about?
It's about a guy that wants to find gold, but he backpacks, mountaineers, and just kind of has an adventure. So it's almost like everybody's dream backpacking like show to be on. It's like, let's go find some gold and backpack. Why not?
Yeah.
We should have done that.
Right.
We should do a trip like that.
we should do. Why aren't we finding gold when we go backpacking?
Yeah.
There's a little more to it than that, I would say, because it's called Deadman's Curse, which is a very like heavy title.
Right.
And it kind of ties back to this Native American from is it called a Native American when it's in Canada? Native Canadian? I don't know what you call it. Anyway, native to the land.
People, yeah.
Indigenous people. There you go. Thank you. Anyway, so this is like late 1800s. This guy finds a bunch of gold, and eventually people are trying to find out where his gold source is, and they hang him. And there's a whole story around that. You have to, watch the show to figure this out. But basically all the gold that he finds goes missing. And for over 100 years, people have been trying to find this gold. And for some, they've gone missing too. Some people have passed away in the process. And now we've got, basically a crew of people out there, no pun intended, that are looking for this gold, right?
I got it. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe they find it right away. Maybe they don't. I guess we'll have to find out,
Yeah. For sure. And so Kru Williams is one of the stars of the show. And the other guy, his buddy Adam, he'll probably be referenced during our conversation. And so they kind of work together to go like backpack mountaineering, gold mining, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they do. They go over glaciers, up mountains. They're rappelling on the side of cliffs. So a little bit more adventurous than the normal backpacking trip. So
right.
I think we got to start worrying about that, Carl. Like me and you, we got to do we start like doing some mountaineering and having some more bigger adventures, or what do you think?
Like up our game is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we need to, like this could be a tryout to be on the show. Like we got to start figuring it out. Like, let's just
take it as a job
interview.
You want to ask him, can we be on the show?
I want to. I mean, don't you think it needs 2 more people? I don't care about sharing the goal. Like, he can have the goal.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be fun to hang out with him and do some adventurous stuff. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's socially appropriate to be like, hey, can we join the show?
Oh my God. You ask people all the time, like, you want to go backpacking with me? And they're always like, sure.
I know, that's different.
And one person, right? One person said yes, I think.
Yeah, we got a couple, I guess. But yeah, is it?
Okay.
But it's a difference between going backpacking with somebody. Like, I'd be comfortable asking that, but versus what? Like, hey, I would like to be a co-star on your show, or at least an extra of some kind, right?
Yeah, I'll carry your Nalgene bottle that he carries. That was one where I was like, oh, I can't wait to ask him about that.
Okay, so carrying gear, that's fair.
So what's the Bible verse, Carl?
Bible verse of the episode is Luke 6:28. Bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. So I don't know. Do we deal with a lot of curses nowadays?
I don't think we do. I mean, you always hear about it when it comes to gold. There's always the curse, but I think that's more like to throw people away from the gold. like scare them a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they don't find the
I'm not
gold.
worried about it. Yeah, I'm not worried about it because we got,
Okay.
God on our side, so it's pretty cool.
Okay. So I'm sure this will come up in our conversation, but yeah, curse is kind of a strong word. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're using the word curse not as like bad words, but as something that happened to kind of, yeah, put kind of a negative vibe about the situation. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. They put it
Okay.
on there as a way to keep people from finding the gold.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask Kru if we can play his promo. So if we can, it's gonna be the intro for this conversation, and if not, then we're just gonna jump right to it. But here we go, Kru Williams. With us today is the star of the hit docuseries Deadman's Curse, the host of the Volcanic Gold podcast, also based on Deadman's Curse, a former MMA fighter and all-around good guy, Kru Williams. How's it going today, sir?
It's going better that you called me a good guy. I appreciate you.
You are a good guy.
I appreciate being here with you guys too. There's nothing more fun than talking on a podcast. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
great. So I'm gonna jump right in, Kru. I got a question. What do you think of the people like Carl that think MMA fighting is fake?
Come to the gym. That's what I can say.
All he does is watch wrestling. And is like, man, Kru hasn't been through a table. I think I could take him. So,
oh my gosh,
actually,
that's your opening question.
Yeah, no, he started it. Let's go. No, I'll tell you right now, there's nothing more realer in sports than MMA. Okay, and the reason I say that is you're putting your future on the line. You're putting your brain, CTE, on the line. You're putting broken bones. The guy in the main event last night just separated a level 3 shoulder and broke it and finished the fight. Okay, it's like a whole nother type of mentality to be in MMA. And unfortunately, when you're watching it, sometimes it's so surreal and you're like, wait, why is he getting tired? Why doesn't he just knock him out? That's the number one thing I hear. Why doesn't he just knock him out? Bro, okay, this guy is almost as equal, if not better than you, trained for the specific day too. So you've got two supreme athletes in their finest form trying to murk one another. Okay, so at the end of the day, it's like, it's hard. And then that's why when you see greatness, when they finish in a stylistic way that looks too real, you're like, well, I don't even believe that. It's because it's like, it's beauty, it's masterpiece when it all comes together. And that's when you get the great ones, So yeah, MMA is real.
I know it's real.
Yeah.
Ben's just trying to cause some problems between us. So
I like your guys' style though.
Yeah. And shockingly, we haven't had another MMA fighter on our podcast before. I know, surprising for a backpacking podcast. So we got to dig in a little bit here. Of the following 3 people, who would you most like to get into the octagon with? Mr. Miyagi, Drago, or Jean-Claude Van Darn?
If it's Van Darn and not the Van I know, well,
we're family friendly here.
Okay, fair enough. But first of all, you named old men, and I would feel horrible with any of them in the ring. Okay.
In their prime.
In their prime. I wouldn't mess with any of them. Miyagi will kill you with a chopstick. And what do you got? Drago?
Yeah. Right.
Drago's a bad man with Gamma. Okay. So yeah, I'd rather stick with a modern day MMA fighter than getting one of those legends in the ring. If they, because damn can really do it. So could Drago. And so could Miyagi. Yeah. They were all real martial artists. So you picked quite the list. Yeah. But Miyagi, because he's small.
Small. Okay. That would be embarrassing. That would be embarrassing to lose to him.
It would be a horrible look either way. You win, you lose, whatever. But I grew up with Karate Kid, so I think that would be more of, if I could maybe. But I'd look bad doing it either way. So yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel old?
Drago,
I was gonna say, do you feel old like when you're like, hey, wax off to your kids, or like younger generation? They're like, what?
Well, see, here's the thing, right? Like when it came to Karate Kid, that was for us. They made this new Gen 1, Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that was good. I was impressed enough that it was a sequel that was watchable, but it actually did spark another generation in my classes, at least, who wanted to go out and check it out. So, yeah,
right,
they're doing their job.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I just think with Drago, you'd have, especially if you replace Rocky, like you'd have the opportunity to like single-handedly end the Cold War, which is kind of what happened after Rocky IV came out, right?
True that. There's a good answer. But that's if it was real world, right? Like I look at the actual fighter who played Drago. You know what I mean? Like when you said Van Darn, I was like, okay, all I remember is that he's legitly a kickboxer who came out of Holland first. So a lot of these action superstars you see were like, oh, that's fake. Look at, Jackie Chan, But they all started as real martial artists. And in order to do the feats they do, boy, you better believe they can do that to you too, So at the end of the day, I respect all martial artists.
Fair enough. Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Not the answer he was looking for. I punched
Drago
in the head.
Yeah. Carl, who would you have chosen, Carl?
Drago.
What do you think? Okay.
Okay.
Is that because you think martial arts is fake too? That you choose the boxer or what?
I would choose. Okay. Here's for Drago. You got to train and prepare, but then you also have to prepare for that speech after you beat him. You got to say the exact right thing to convince the Russians that like we could be friends and that like, the Berlin Wall can come down. So there's a lot of preparation going on. It's not about me, Ben. So what you got? What's your next question?
About the nation and the world. I like your style. Good man.
Yeah. It's bringing people together, Yeah. So how do you get into me? I think I'd probably Mr. Miyagi, It's just I'd be terrified of him.
Miyagi. Just like an old dude that's
the deck in your favor. The point is to win the fight. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. I mean, I show with chopsticks and maybe like I catch a fly and then he's like, oh, I can't beat him because I haven't done that, Like
right. Good luck.
I have twice, just for the record, since we're doing this. I caught a fly in Australia, not the same one, but I've caught 2 flies with chopsticks. And I didn't believe it, but my wife was there to witness it. So
were they alive?
Oh yeah, no. And in Australia, they're a different breed of fly. They only live for 24 hours, so they're constantly looking for water. So they go for your eyes. It's really weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Wear goggles.
Just walk around Australia wearing goggles. That's socially appropriate.
Double chopsticks.
So Kru, how do you go from MMA fighting to finding gold in British Columbia in the middle of nowhere? Like what's the story?
Question. It's a great question. Yeah. Well, when I was 16 years old, I was in the backyard, my grandma's house, on the sawmill with my uncle. And that's when the story and the legend of Slumok, and back then they know it as the Lost Pit Mine. And so it made me kind of rise to that occasion. I've been fighting my whole life. Like I've been in combat sports since middle school, been wrestling since 2 years old, any chance I get. So for me, it's more of a therapy. I'm from the pre-generation that we see now, where there wasn't money in the sport like there is now. There wasn't this fame in the sport. It was a blood sport. It was illegal. Yeah. People talked about, as like we were all criminals and bad people, just because we're martial artists competing in a sport they didn't know about yet. So for me, see, this is what happens when I start talking about martial arts. I start flashing back and all this stuff. But bottom line is, prospecting was my escape from that. You know what I mean? It was my escape from work. It was my escape from getting out of the office. It was my escape from the hood, because I used to live in the hoods in the States. And I went from the hoods to the woods for a reason. Because out there, at least you know that the bears come to eat you, cougars will try to eat you, but everything else will leave you alone. In the city, y'all in Cali, they call it Killer Cali for a reason. You know what I mean? Like you're probably safer in the woods out there backpacking. But for me, it was just getting out there, freedom, and I've never felt more free than in the woods of BC. And even growing up in Washington State woods and everything like that, it's bigger, it's more. I feel more treacherous, but yet more inviting. And once you learn to love the land, you see a patch of moss, you want to lay down in it. You don't even think about the bugs and fires, nothing like that. You're like, look at that bed. I'm making camp here tonight. You know what I mean? And then when you
that's not me.
That's me. I like to lay down.
I can't do it
for sure. I'll totally do that. That's
I was doing it
hilarious.
yesterday when we were out mushroom picking, and I just had to lay down on so much beautiful moss. But for me, it was that escape. And then in that escape area, now I'm doing research about literally the Wild Wild West, you know, when men carried guns and shot and killed one another for little pieces of rocks. You know what I mean? Minerals.
Yeah.
And then when you start finding it yourself, and there ain't no crazy Wild Wild West people out there, I mean, why not get it? Because everybody else seemed to forget about it, but it's still there. You know, and then when you start pulling gold from the ground, cash in hand, you go to work, you got to work, you got to get paid by somebody else. You can go do what you love in the woods, hiking, hunting, put a pan in the water, get paid for it too. Because if you find a hot spot, it's going to change everything, you know? Like I know people that have quit their full-time jobs and this is all they do now. And it's because there's very few people doing it. Except now that the price of gold is going through the frickin' roof, you know. So
yeah.
I probably.
Yeah, I got a creek in my backyard. I've been itching to get a pan on, but I just don't know how to pan. And I'm just like, maybe I gotta just like say there's like a curse about this, like, you know, creek or something. Get some, you know,
that'll motivate
some people out.
I got family in Cali, so maybe next trip we'll swing on through. But bottom line, it's not as hard as you think. You know, you got to understand these guys didn't go to university. You know what I mean? They just learned how to put a pan in water, move some dirt until it ain't dirty no more. And then the bottom, all the heavy stuff, all the heavies. So you'll be amazed. You'll find more than gold. You'll find platinum. You'll find lead. You'll find mercury. So, I mean, be worried about that if you find a mercury. But,
yeah. Well, all I found is like a couple of bolts and stuff. So I'm not doing too well, but yeah.
Actually, you are. So you found the heavies. So that means if that was gold, it could have been a golden nugget. So that way, when you start finding those lead pellets, some old bullets and those things, that's showing you that you are panning. You're just not on pay dirt. So you got to get on the inside bend of the creek. And most people will think it'll be on the outside bend because of just the physics that we grow up with, but the aquadynamics and the weights and densities of the materials change the flow in water. So they're always getting caught when the water's disturbed on the inside bend as it goes around. So always the inside bend, and look for big boulders. Anything behind a boulder.
That's exactly the opposite of what I've been doing. So that works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these little tricks will help, right? I call the big boulders, they create a comet tail because the water gets disturbed when it runs over it, and then they fall down right behind it. So I've chased gold on the surface for about 3 yards just from finding big boulders. And then the deeper you go, you're getting all the stuff that fell prior. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's okay.
Ben, your backpack's heavy enough, man. You're not going to start backpacking with a gold pan. I'm vetoing that right now. Kru's trying to convince you, but
hey, they're ultra light. They're plastic. Okay, there you go. It won't weigh you down at all.
Yeah, speaking of pack weight, we went on a recent backpacking trip, me and Carl together, and his pack was 26 pounds and mine was 50. And part of the reason is because he borrowed everything from me. So my bad, I had to cover for him. But what's your pack weight on your show? Like I was watching your show, and I got some tips after you tell me what your pack weight is. I got some tips to lower it.
And
there's backpacking gear, mountain climbing gear, and gold mining gear. So you get 3 different things going on, right?
And some other hidden gems. So either way, it depends on the expedition. And I respect the lightweight backpacking. Like I've had to learn that the hard way, because with prospecting, you're literally moving a camp with you. You know what I mean? So you don't get to go for the backpacking, walking and hiking until you establish your base camp. And then you start to shed down to ultra lightweights according to whatever mission you're on. So for me, the hardest part is to bring in the big guns to set up the camp and get everything ready, and then shed down in order to go check the hills and all this stuff. Adam, on the other hand, he's a lightweight king. His bag is so thin it can blow away in the wind. And I respect that, because I had to learn that the hard way. You know, like the more you bring, slower you're going to travel, the more you weigh yourself down, the more prone to injury and accidents. So, yeah. But to answer the question, season 1, at least 80 pounds. At least.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
80 pounds.
Wow.
To the point where I, at one point, would have ditched my equipment in the woods like so many other people have before because of the weight. But I didn't know I was in for it. So I just knew that I need to process placer, which is river gold, but also hard rock. And I had borrowed one of my mining partners' iron ball pestle. It's literally a cannonball. cut in half and literally hollowed out, you know, how the cannonballs are with a metal pestle. So that alone weighed 20 plus pounds, you know.
What?
And I would have left it in the woods, but it was my mining partners, and he's like a 70-year-old legend, so I had to carry it. Yeah, it was
the
rough.
Kru borrows gear too, Ben. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, what I did learn is to lighten the loads, to be specific to whatever missions we're on, and make sure that we spread the weights out. So when we go in, mountaineering equipment gear, boom, Adam. Prospecting gear, boom, me. Whatever specialty thing we're doing, Don, Taylor splits the weight and we get it done, you know?
Oh, nice.
And thank God we have my brother on the last episode that people saw here in Canada, and he had to bring our entire home on his back. He had a big old tent and everything. So, and that was on top of a mountain. So we move a lot of weight, and weight is very important on how you distribute. So that's what I'm learning, is how to slim down, how to get it so that when we were bouldering or canyoneering, we're not, you know, one false step and you're falling down a mountain, you know, like season 1, when you see us out on the Glacier, there's so many things that I wish I just had a freaking cam on, because you got 2 guys trying to follow us and they're not set up to film. And then all of a sudden you're on the side of a more than 45-degree mountain and you just learn how to use a snow axe. Thank God. Because I didn't even think that thing would really work. Okay. And I slid about 100 yards, bro. And I
really?
I felt like Sylvester Stallone. If it wasn't for Rocky, I'd be dead. Okay. Sylvester Stallone saved my life with clip.
Wait a second. Are you suggesting that you used things you learned from the movie
100.
Cliffhanger to save your own life?
100%. I'd be dead if it wasn't for
That's
Sylvester
ridiculous.
Stallone. When I had to cross that crevasse, they didn't tell me how. I never had any training. It was all just, let's go, Adam. Oh, let's go, my buddy. But bottom line is, I'm like, how do I get across this? I couldn't step because of the weight distribution, and I had to sink it in. And if you slip, you slide down the crevasse. They're not showing this angle. And it just makes it, why don't you just step over it? Because I can see down, bro. Like, you can't see nothing no more, you know? So I was looking, I was getting mad. I was frustrated. I was like, how do I do this? Nobody told me. And then I remembered Cliffhanger. I was like, he went, and apparently that's like a move. It's like a double stick or something, you know? I didn't even know, but it worked, you know? And I got to the top. Okay. So if your parents say you don't learn anything from TV, it's a lie. It could save your life.
Okay.
So watch Deadman.
Sounds like we have to book another guest, Carl. Sylvester Stallone will be our next guest.
All right, we gotta get Sylvester Stallone on. He can give us like his top 3, you know, mountaineering tips that he learned when filming that movie, basically.
100%.
So Kru, here's three items. Which one of these would you be willing to try to help you save weight? Okay.
To get under 80 pounds.
Yeah, to get under 80 pounds. So first, you have a Nalgene bottle. So you got to get rid of the Nalgene bottle and put your water in like Ziploc bags. Because Ziploc bags weigh hardly. Yeah, there's a podcast that talks about.
I saw that, and I was like, really? Because I'm going to be wet and cold if that pops. If you fall, I'm like, is he real or not? But it was funny.
He's seen the video. He's seen the video, man. It's satire. It's satire.
I get it, but he is kind of right about the backpack, though. With that backpack, why not make it? The sleeping bag into a backpack?
Yeah.
Because you're
so that was my next question. That was my next question. Was like, you could use your sleeping bag as a backpack and shed the whole backpack. You know?
Yeah, you could, but then it gets wet, then it gets torn, then it gets bugs, then it gets shredded when you're going through the bush. So, right, you gotta have.
He is unsurprised by your suggestions. You're stealing my ideas, suggesting to him, and he already knows about it. He's prepared.
Third one is probably the best. Kru is you get rid of duplicate items. Like you guys had 2 tents, 2 sleeping bags. Get rid of them. One person can work during the day. One person works during the night. You sleep. One person sleeps during the day. One person sleeps at night. You don't need 2 sleeping bags.
Okay, you know what? Legitly, that way works, but I'm out there with Adam, so I was like, I need my own space. And at the end of the day, if we shifted, if we did shifts, that's legit. I can see that.
You'll cover more ground. You know, you might have found the gold already if you would have just covered more ground and shit.
That is so ridiculous.
Oh God, there's too many jokes. It's family friendly, so I'm gonna not say my funny jokes there. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
All right, so okay. as you're talking, I kind of got to thinking, like, if you really do have pack weights that are that heavy, and I know you said you're slimming down since season 1.
Oh, massively.
Okay. So I don't know if this is probably too late, but I'm surprised the producers didn't say like, hey, let's get a scale, and like that would be good video right there to be like, check out these pack weights these guys are lugging around.
We did.
So
we did.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They did. It didn't make air. That was just the thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
because
that would be my guess, because it when we do it, it never makes good air either. When Carl's out there weighing everyone's pack, it's like, this is ridiculous. Let's just cut this. Like, it's not worth it.
Whatever.
Well, see, if you know the legend of Slumock, you also know the legend of Walter Jackson. And Walter Jackson was an American like y'all. And he came up to Canada and he figured out the legend. And he found the gold. And he found so much gold, he couldn't backpack it all the way back. Hence how
gold's
the story
stinking heavy.
It's man, I don't even want to talk about it, but yeah, it's super heavy, but it's super worth it. And that's why when you start to, we found most likely his camp. Now, one of the biggest things for me back in the day is like, you had to feed yourself. There's no grocery stores, right? So he was known to bring traps, and he would trap and sustain himself while he was prospecting. Traps are your key to life. He left them all there. He left his pickaxe there. Cool. He left anything worth of weight to be replaced by gold for the way out. Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, so when we're on that place and find those things, it's like, whoo! So we get it. So that's why we had to have those precautions in order to be able to move the gold out if we found it. So yeah.
Right.
So are you putting the gold in a sleeping bag? I missed what you were doing. Like, are you putting the gold in the sleeping bag?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
What we're learning now is what the Spanish did is they process out there, right? So that way they get all the heavies out. They would refine it down into bars, and then they move that weight. So now I understand them, because like if you had to do it on foot or on mule, like good luck. You're going to be lucky if you make it out. And that's why a lot of people in this legend have died, because of the greed. Like, think about it. Wouldn't you switch everything out of your backpack for a backpack full of gold? But then what do you do now when you need your gun? What do you do now when you need something? You don't make it, or you slip and injure yourself, and now you've got nothing. You left your hatchet. You know what I mean? So it's like
your bagged water. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're slurping out of the
we do that. How do you bring that into like season 3 or 4? You know, like just start.
Don't play around. You watch. You watch. For y'all. I'll at least try it out.
That's ridiculous.
Just once you have to look at Adam and be like, you know, Adam, if you carried your water in a bag, you'd save so much light, and just take a sip of it.
He'll do that. No, he will do that. And honestly, the only reason we were even packing water was because of the rumor of the arsenic. Because I mean, most glacial travel, you don't have to worry about that. But because of the legends of arsenic, it was something that I took extremely serious, and specialized filtration systems, packing in my own water too on top of it. But to find that giant boulder, and to see that the majority of it was arsenic, and it was in the head of the Stave River coming in and feeding everybody. You wonder why First Nations had pictographs saying that there was poison water up here, and that's exactly where we went, you know? So once again, Sylvester Stallone and the First Nations saved my life on this trip. So yeah, you got to pay attention when you go in the woods.
Oh, for sure. So, and just to clarify, so when you talk about packing out gold, I heard a stat, and I didn't do my research, but I should know this. I want to say like a typical bar of gold, isn't that like 35, 40 pounds just for a single bar?
Well, number one, depends where and how. I've been dealing with Spanish bars lately, and now I understand why they don't be trying to do kilo size worth of gold. You know, it's more on a smaller level. Prospectors back in the day, especially when you're doing placer, which is, you know, the small grainy gold, dust gold, you melt those into buttons. So I've never held that much gold in my life, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if the little bars and the little nuggets weigh that much, those bricks would just be phenomenal. Yeah, and I like the way you said not yet. So eventually we'll get there.
Eventually. I believe it.
Down the road. Okay. So for those who are new to the show, we did a description in our intro for this episode, but for those that are new, can it be described as essentially like a combination of backpacking, like a gold mining adventure with epic scenery, and just some good, awesome folks? Is that fair to say?
That's bang on. It's bang on. And one of the biggest things too for me in this journey was a lot of people came before us. A lot of people failed. A lot of people died and disappeared. But a lot of them also didn't work with the First Nations people. And as you see on the show, Don is my adopted father. Taylor's a sister. Adam's a brother. So we're a whole happy family out there. It's like the freaking Brady Bunch. But at the end of the day, what it does is it opens up different perspectives, different eyes. If you go in there with just miners, you only got miners. You go in there with mountaineers, you only got mountaineers, hunters. So to combine everything, we get the big picture when we're going. And because it's a television show, adventure documentary series, whatever they want to call it, I love now the history side of it. Because in the beginning, I did little bits of research to be able to be on the gold and then figure I could do it myself. But the approach the show's taken is look at who's come before you, you know? And a lot of times we're in this rush. We just want to get at it. Let's get her done. But sometimes you need to sit back and look at the big picture. And that's been the advantage of having the cameras is they want to see the big picture. Now I see the big picture. And then you start seeing things that you would never have seen when you're rushing through. Like we found, I don't know if you know about the Dick Carter episode, but there was a black box with white crosses on it. And it was held for generations in his family. Nobody was allowed to look at it until he died.
Right.
Behind the scenes, when we opened it, a lightning storm started above the house that we were in. Only in that neighborhood. I was like some Harry Potter-ish going on, and nobody else cared because they're like, no, we need to shoot this. And then all of a sudden the power blows out, and I'm like, dude, there's crosses on this. This is creepy. And they're like, no, we gotta get it. And I'm just like, ah. And so when you start touching all this old stuff, you feel things. And I never was like that. I told you, from the hoods to the woods, not this mumbo jumbo spirits and things like this is not what I signed up for, you know? It's what's been constantly happening. And most of that stuff y'all don't get to know about because it's a family friendly show. But
it is,
I need to be careful what I say. So just know that there is always more than meets the eyes. And that's what I've learned. Be careful what you touch. Be careful what you research into. Because you might actually find out, you know? So so that box, that's what pretty much proved the legend. And in that box, we found two photos that actually showed the gold. And he had a pan full of nuggets. You'll see it in the intro. He had bigger than walnut size freaking bananas, bro. He had banana size gold nuggets.
Banana gold.
So, and that made me want to just change the whole game and go straight there. So I have to only say so much, but either way, it's amazing what happens. It's amazing what happens behind the scenes, and especially when you slow your roll and look at the big picture. So,
but and you mentioned like the Brady Bunch kind of family because you work together a lot with those folks, but you kind of bring in these extra characters, and I think what really sold me on the show was some of these extra folks like they're just kind of different people, right? And so they get different personalities, and they don't quite match up with you and the rest of your group. And you're so kind and you're so welcoming and you're so patient. And when I watch a lot of like, you know, reality based, whether it's like adventure shows or whatever, they're looking for the friction. And you guys went the opposite way where it's just like the issue or the friction is with the finding of the gold. It's not with the people. And so I just like, for me, that's what sold it is just the way that you guys treat each other. It was so impressive. So impressive.
You rock. That's one of the nicest things anybody said about the show. I really appreciate that. I really mean that because like for me as an MMA coach, I've come into it for martial arts, you know, and I look at it as this is a team. And I mean that when I say it's teamwork to make the dream work, that's real. You can't do everything on your own, you know, you can't see every stone. You can't climb every mountain, can't jump in every hole. I've learned to work together in martial arts. I'm working together as a team and a squad here, and we're growing. And season 3 is unreal. Like I'm telling you, man, I feel like I've gone to Adventurer University or something because every season we just nonstop. This is the first break I've had in 5 years. Okay. And then it's like, dude, I've done graduated. Okay. It's like season 3, you will see, we know what we're doing. And it's like, wow, when it all comes together, it just shows me that anybody can do anything as long as they work together, stay focused, and push through it. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do because a lot of people fall apart.
For sure. Okay, so get into the kind of that behind. He kind of reveals some behind the scenes stuff, but each episode feels like, you kind of mentioned the word mission. It feels like this exploratory or explorative mission, but you did have a lot of clues or things you were looking at kind of out the gate. So this didn't happen, but what if you found the gold like in the first 20 minutes of searching? Like how would the producers have handled that? Are they going to like pretend like you didn't and keep filming, or how does this all play out?
That would be so disheartening. It'd be like, yeah, let's look here too. Like, no. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's hilarious. Okay, but the reality is, it wouldn't be a 150-year-old legend if I could walk off in the woods and find it in 20 minutes. You know, like there's
30 minutes.
30 minutes. You just left the dock. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like,
I know. You get the idea, though.
Long. I feel you, but at the end of the day, there's a reason it's been hidden for so long. Slumonk was First Nation Catesies. His nation, that was their living room, his backyard. He could move through the land like that. No one could follow him. No one could track him. And it's like, this land is very unique. Whereabouts you guys? Northern Cali?
I'm in northern. Yeah, I'm up by Oregon border.
Okay, so you know the big woods. I get it. Where are you from, Carl?
Colorado.
Oh, okay. Y'all country folk too. Okay. Well, either way, the thing about BC, it was that we didn't get the gold rush 49ers coming through because of James Douglas, and the Canadians locked that down. So it didn't get tore up. So there's so much that's preserved in our woods. And all the history, the legends, the lore, all these things, it's there for a reason. These woods are big, treacherous woods. And then you've got the glacier fields. You've got grizzly, brown bear, mountain lions. Don't call them cougars. They're mountain lions, 6 feet long plus, bro. So everything seems to be bigger out in the pit. I'm a little traumatized. So sometimes I'll start going off on things and I'll flash them back to it. But I don't even remember what the question is.
Yeah, that's okay.
Wow.
What was like the craziest, like strange encounters you've seen out there? Like we haven't seen Bigfoot, which is on our list, but we've seen like deer run off with their trekking poles. They're avid hikers out here, you know.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, speaking of mountain lions, I guess I can say
he wants you to say aliens.
There's some things I can't. There's some things I can't talk about because you'll see it in season 3. Okay, but where does Sasquatch come from? Do you know?
From British Columbia.
Do you know which band they supposedly come from?
I know Bigfoot's in our area. Like that's where.
Yeah.
But that's different than Sasquatch. Yeah.
Theories say they migrate south, though.
Well, all I can say is there's an origin home of the Sasquatch, and it's on the tribal nation of the Chehalis, the Sasquatch Nation. This is their story. So I'm going to have to leave that for them to tell. But we do have things in our woods. And then the other things you want to know about, I can't talk about, unfortunately. Maybe off camera, because unless I get, permission to talk about things like that. But there's not from my mouth, but from theirs.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So where can we watch Deadman's Curse?
Well, Deadman's Curse is on the History Channel in Canada. We're on Hulu streaming in the States. And also Stack TV is another place that you can check that out on Prime. As far as our podcast goes, Deadman's Curse, you can find anywhere where you get your favorite podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your favorites.
Last question. You find the gold. What are you specifically going to do with it?
Well, I'll tell you right out of the gate, what did I do with it? I gave it back to the Casey. And you see, at the end of the day, that people have been through so much that I didn't even know about. I found a little vial of gold, bro. That's nothing. They've been kicked off their land. They're in a bog. Their actual reservation is like 3 or 4 feet underneath the street level that I drive up to it on. Like that hurts my soul. And then when you see the KC Youth facility, they're doing well with what they got. But I mean, if we're going to be making stuff off of this show, like, dude, the least we can do is give back to the people of that land, That's awesome. And so for me, I want to see First Nations involved with taking care of their own resources. You know, obviously I get a cut, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that it goes the right way, the right hands, and I'm not trying to walk away with no curse on mine, you know? So yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And that's for me, that kind of thought process just makes the show that much more engaging, and I'm always excited to watch it. So Kru, man, thank you so much for taking the time, carving out time and having a chat with us. You can check out Deadman's Curse, like you mentioned, on Hulu and beyond, and we'll have all that information in our show description. But yeah, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you, Kru. It was awesome, man.
All right, man. That was awesome. Love talking to Kru. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. That was probably one of my top 10 moments. I'm not going to rate him for you, but I was looking forward to this. Like I said, all
top 10 moments of your life?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was
awesome.
Yeah. He's such a great guy. Like I was excited. Like he's kind of a big deal in our household. We've been watching the show, and you know, sometimes you get worried meeting people that you're excited to meet because they can be like total jerks, you know, like they have like, you know, they're not cool off camera. They're not that way. Kru Williams is exactly what you see on camera, which I love. Actually, I think even better like in person, you know? So,
for sure.
Yeah, that was
okay.
Was cool.
If we had somebody, cool. Okay, let's just play this out. If we had somebody who actually we were like excited to talk to them and they actually didn't turn out to be how we thought they weren't very nice. Wouldn't you just like be like, you know what? We're going to skip this interview here.
There's a couple interviews that never made the cut. You know?
We haven't had anybody like that on our show. There's been one person, there's been people like we have our favorites for sure, but there's been nobody who I'm like, I don't want to talk to this person anymore. It hasn't been like that. So
no, but I think you agree that you want to have him back. I was almost worried like he'd come back as the new interim host, the way you were talking.
Dude, I thought about that too. I was like, Kru, can you replace Ben for the next little bit? Because you're doing better than him.
I was going to ask him to replace you. I was so excited.
But
I couldn't handle it. I was like, he talks. He told us numerous times, like, hey, I talk, so just cut me off. And he even caught himself, like, hey, I'm done. I'm done talking. You know, so it's cool that, you know, he sees that. But yeah, what a fun interview. Yeah. What do you think of his responses to he knew your short videos?
Yeah, so that is okay. So this might have been confusing for some folks out there. So we've been doing some YouTube, like shorter videos, like 1 to 3 minute videos, and then we have like a YouTube Shorts version that we throw on Instagram as well. And he watches the Instagram version, or he has been. I think he was kind of just checking out to see if he wanted to come on our show. And so
he watched the recent one that you had out, the one with the with the backpack over your head. So he's seen the recent ones too, which I thought was cool.
Right. So we just have, they're kind of just these like satirical videos. I think I've talked about them before in the podcast. And they're just kind of poking fun at a lot of things. And so one of the things, the one that was referenced was I put out one called like 4 ultralight tips you've never heard. And I think we might do like a podcast episode about this. But I was just like mocking how ridiculously ultralight people go. And so one of the things I said was like swap out your water bottle for bagged water, like Ziploc bagged water. And so when you're like giving him those suggestions, he already knew what you were talking about. That was awesome.
I loved it. And he's like, I hope he played along. He's like, I don't know if you're real or you're fake, but that, like, I don't know what I do. And then he's like, but you put it in your pocket, and what if it explodes?
Right.
I thought it was great that he knew our content. That just made the interview so much better for me because I was laughing too hard.
We've even had like a sponsor of our podcast not check out our stuff. Like they're just like, we'll sponsor you. Like we'll kind of just know if, you know, like check your reach, and then if it's good enough. Yeah. But then he went, above and beyond. So that was cool.
He went way above because he would do our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about using Cliffhanger, the movie, as research for mountaineering?
I mean, we kind of do that too, because don't we watch like TV shows or whatever and like gets us into backpacking? So I think if I'm going to go mountaineering on a gold, you know, adventure, I might be watching movies to figure out what to do. Yeah. So
not documentaries, but straight up movies is what you're saying.
Straight up movies. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think that'd be the cool thing to do, right? Is obviously movies are real and you can reenact it. And he said he reenacted it and he pulled it off and they thought it was the coolest move ever. And he's like, oh, that's a legit move. I did not know that. I just mimicked, you know, Sylvester Stallone.
They have all these YouTube videos where they have, you know, experts watching the movie versions of whatever they're an expert in. And they just like sit there and judge like, yeah, you know, like that mountaineer couldn't do that. Or, like that Wild West scene couldn't have happened. And so
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, on a scale of 1 to 10, with Cliffhanger being like authentic mountaineering versus nonsense, where would you rank it? 10 being authentic.
Oh, probably like a 7. I mean, it looked pretty realistic, right? I mean, it works. I mean, Kru Williams said it works. So you think of 5.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just like, yeah, about average. So everything
No,
but the
negative
mountaineering
5.
was
Negative
really,
5.
negative 5.
Yeah. Like it's so fictional that there's nothing remotely authentic about it, that they're doing fake stunts that don't even exist. That's my thought.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is he's wearing shorts and it's like snowing out. Like that doesn't seem very realistic. So that's why I didn't give it a 10.
Or he's swimming under the ice. He's under the ice, so he's completely submerged. He gets out of the ice. In the next scene, he's 100% dry, no campfire.
Oh, you dry quicker, right? Don't you? The Arctic air, it's
Probably.
dry. It's dry up there. Yeah.
That's right. Mountains are dry. That's right. All right. So I got to talk about the show a little bit here. So I didn't want to give any, no spoilers or anything like that. I will say that we did reference that it was family friendly. You'll have to correct me, but I feel like there were a couple early episodes where they did have a couple of language issues, like not bad, but just a couple words were thrown on early. And then I think that got cleaned up, and they didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, it seemed clean. I didn't notice too much where it was like, "Oh, kids, cover your ears." And we're pretty heavy with that stuff. Making sure our kids are listening to the right stuff. So I didn't notice it too bad. And so I think it's more family friendly.
I think it's generally family friendly, but you could watch the first couple episodes, just double check, maybe first 3, I'd say, if you're interested in checking it out. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you like backpacking. There's not a lot of good backpacking based documentaries with a story, and the scenery is amazing. I mean, you could almost make the case for watching it just for the scenery and the cinematography.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful where they're at. And it's very remote. Like you almost forget there's a camera crew with them because they just show them too. And then like when I was thinking about last time, like I forgot to ask, I wanted to ask, like, what do you do with the camera crew? Like, what do they do? Where do they set up camp? But and imagine they're back. We didn't ask what their pack weights are. If Kru's 80 pounds the first season.
I know. That's more. Yeah. Well, they're not bringing the gold mining stuff, but they are bringing the mountaineering and the camping stuff for sure. So
yeah, a lot more stuff.
Anyway, so we'll have links to all that stuff in our show description if you want to check it out. And you got trivia, right?
I do. I've got gold hunting trivia.
All right, it's coming up right after this. The trail is calling your name. Are you ready? Are you really ready? Our good friend Roan from Summit Strength can get you trail ready. Roan uses rock-solid evidence to design a specialized training program just for you. There are plenty of cookie-cutter programs out there that will get you only halfway up the mountain. Make it to your adventure summit with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. All right, so trivia is brought to us by Teton, and for this promo, you're actually going to be doing a review in the tidbit section on their pad, correct?
Correct, the Altos pad.
Okay, all right, so we'll check that out here in a couple minutes. But what do you got for gold hunting trivia?
All right, are you ready? Let's see if you know how to be a gold hunter. All right.
I don't.
This was the lost city of gold in South America. Atlantis, the Lost Delta, El Dorado, or Helm's Deep?
I don't feel like there was a question there. This was the lost city of gold.
Yeah.
Are you asking which one of these was it?
Yeah, which one? Sorry, let me be more specific. Which one of these is the lost city
of gold? El Dorado?
It is. Yep, El Dorado's the right one. Atlantis, is just a resort in the Bahamas or somewhere down there. The Lost Delta was from the movie Jungle Cruise, and Helm's Deep, Lord of the Rings.
Okay. That was like an obvious answer. That was too easy.
Oh, I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to make it easy
the other
for
way.
you. Oh my! That
was bad the other way.
Right. Oh my gosh! What was the largest gold rush in America? Was it the California Gold Rush of 1848 to 1855? The Klondike Rush of Alaska that took place from 1896 to 1899? The Great North Walk of 1878 to 1879? Or Rush of 1974?
The band Rush? Is that what you're saying?
You caught that?
Okay.
Yeah, it was the band rush.
Okay. So, when you say the largest, are you talking about the amount of gold that was pulled out of the mountain, or like people involved?
The amount of gold.
The amount of gold. Whew. I feel like there was a lot of people that didn't find gold in California, so I'll go with the Alaska one.
Alaska one. That is incorrect.
Which
so
one
the California gold rush of 1848 to 1855, 1.9 billion of today's standards, they found gold. So, that's why they have the San Francisco 49ers. That's what they're named after. They also had, I think, just throwing that out there for you. It would have helped. And then it was because they had 250,000 people rushed to California. And that's like, you get all those people out there. They had 100,000 go to Alaska, but only 30,000 made it. So think of that, 30,000 people, and they almost came. Yeah, they almost came close to reaching the California one. All right, but
they had like White Fang. Yeah. The guy from White Fang found all the gold, and then
his dog
London wrote about. Yeah, that's true. The dog found the gold, and then Jack London wrote all these stories about like Alaskan gold, and then the stories I hear about the gold rush in California is that the richest people tended to be the people that sold the gold rushers the gear. Like they just made a killing selling the gear.
Oh, I'm sure they just marked it all up and just, no.
Oh yeah, price gouging for sure. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
all right, one for two. Last one. What you got?
This one you're gonna hate because I honestly don't know if it's right or wrong. The dowsing
rod. What kind of
rod.
question is that? You don't know if it's right or wrong?
Well, I researched it, but we'll talk after you get it wrong or right. Dowsing rods. You know what dowsing rods are? So they're two rods that you hold together and like helps find water, and you can use them maybe for gold. I don't know. Dowsing rods can be used to find gold. True or false?
True.
Yeah.
Well,
so
like people believe that it's true. I don't know if it really finds gold, but people believe it's true.
I depending on where you look, it's either true or false, because I thought it was true. First thing, I Google, and the first answer I get, it's like, okay, it's true. And then I was like, well, Carl might argue about the authenticity of this, so let me go back and double check. And there's people that are like, I'm close to being a chemist, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, and I used these rods, and we found water where there shouldn't be. And then other guy's like, I'm a legit scientist, and these do not work. So, yeah, I don't know, but people think you can. So I think we should try bringing them on the next backpacking trip and see if we find something with them. I don't know.
I feel like they're weird, so I'm not going to bring them, but it wouldn't surprise me to see one in your pack. I'll just say that.
So. Among other things. So, yeah. Not too good for trivia because I forgot to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Or I forgot to do the last one, but yeah.
I'll just take the win and
move on.
I'm not going to hear any complaints from you. So, all right. Before we get to the Teton Pad review, I want to try to incorporate, maybe not every time, but like one of the top YouTube comments from the week from some of the videos we've been releasing, kind of the shorter versions, not our podcast videos. And so we had another one out. Me. I chose you for what?
The comment. I appreciate that.
I did? Oh. I haven't said it yet.
Oh, well, I figured
I haven't even said the comment. What are you talking about?
Oh, all right. Continue.
Okay. Stop being socially awkward. Let's move on here. Okay. So the video that was most recently released was about like you should have 2+ uses for every piece of gear, period. That's the one that we released, as of this recording. I think we got one more coming out soon. And Colby from Arizona said, I didn't use a bidet until I realized it could double as a sport cap. Think about that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you, Colby.
That's that's great.
All right. We got an episode coming out about our Trinity Alps trip. I think that's going to be maybe next week, maybe this week. We'll see. And you have a Teton pad review because you brought it on the trip and you used it. You slept on it. What'd you think?
I loved it. It's the Altos insulated sleeping pad. So I brought it to try it out the next morning after I inflated it. So first, when you inflate it, the check valve, that was the only thing I had a complaint with, is it has a flapper in it. I wouldn't even say a check valve. So you have to make sure you flick that, and you kind of have to flick it, either like stick your finger in the hole and flick it, or try to do it from the outside to get it to close so that your air stays in. But once I filled it up.
Wait a second. My question is this a legitimate complaint? Because on their tent, you complained about like weird zippers going on, and there wasn't weird zippers going on. You just didn't know how to use like tent zippers for the rainfly. That was a like user error right there.
I think this is legit because you want your tent to stay inflated while you're blowing it up. Like, shouldn't it automatically like seal? Like you stick your your inflator in there, which I brought my battery powered one because you didn't bring the one you said you were going to bring for me, and so I brought one just as a backup. And I stuck it in there, inflated the pad, and it didn't automatically shut. So I just thought it should, but maybe you have to help it. Once again, I didn't read the directions, so it could be part of what you're supposed to do. So, anyways, it kept me warm the next day. I woke up and everyone else was saying they had to wake up in the middle of the night because it got like I think down to like 37, and people had to inflate their sleeping pads in the middle of the night. And this one I had no issue with at all. This is it's a good pad. It's 72 inches by 20 inches. So once again, I'd like to get the longer one. I sleep with like a little bit like a baby, I guess. My knees are curled. So having it be a little longer would be nice. 3 inches thick. So plenty of padding there. I did have to deflate it a little bit the second night because it was almost too hard, which is weird. So I don't know if I was gaining weight on the trip.
That's not like that's not unique to that pad. A lot of people do that.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought I was gaining weight on the trip, and so it was like adding more air pressure. I had to lower it. So everyone else was like, I had to deflate my pad, and I'm like,
if you add more weight, if you're gaining weight on a backpacking trip, you're heavier. The pad is going to become firmer. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, because it's air. So, oh my gosh, do I have to explain science to you now?
Yes, I'm not good at science. I've said this many times.
So as you add weight, weight distribution, it's going to inflate the pad more for you. Like if your kid gets on there, it's not going to be as much. But if you get on there, it adds more weight and pushes down. Okay. So yeah, does that make sense?
It's making it kind of. I'm still not sciencey.
Yeah. All right,
and you didn't really use any scientific terms there. In my own
defense. Sorry. Yeah. So Eureka is what it's come from. Yeah, all right, we'll move on. It weighs in at 1 pound 6 ounces, so it's a little heavier. But when I had my pack, what's the extra pound? So I didn't really notice it.
We'll learn about that next time for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Last thing I've got is we haven't kind of shouted out Patreon in a while. Like we'll be talking about the Patreon trip here upcoming, but yeah, if you would love to join the B&B family on Patreon, we've got bonus episodes. I think we've got over 50 on there. We've got bonus segments. We're continuing to add to our library there. Every week's episode is ad free. And of course we got the Patreon trips along with some other stuff going on there. So please consider joining the Patreon family. Ben, you got anything else?
No, it was a really fun episode. So once again, appreciate everybody for listening and taking the time to hear us just go back and forth and banter. And hopefully we made your week a little easier.
That's right, man. All right. Well, have a great week, everybody, and God bless.
See ya.